The picture that got me the most notoriety was the picture that I shot of Chuck Johnson, who, if you Google his name, comes up as the most hated man on the internet. I specifically, went out of my way to make him look good, and that was a lightning rod. Of all of the photographs that I took, that probably got me more attention than any other photograph because people so dislike him.
Yeah.
That taking a picture of him that made him look good really, really bothered a lot of people.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Hi, how are you?
Very good.
Good, thank you so much for letting me do this.
You're very welcome. In 1993 is when I got hired at Fox to build all the first generation websites.
That's so funny.
Because there was no such thing as an internet website. So I'm cleaning my desk off. She said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Because Rupert's coming in." And she goes, "Don't do that. He doesn't trust people who clean their desks." And I said, "Why not?" And she goes, "Because she said, because Rupert thinks that if you've got enough time to clean your desk off, then you're not working hard enough."
That's so funny.
So I went, okay. So I stopped cleaning my desk off.
Well, basically, just cut to the chase. Do you consider yourself the Annie Leibovitz of the right?
Well, Annie Leibovitz is a great photographer, but she shoots for magazines, and even though I think that my photographs are magazine quality, there aren't really any magazines that want to run my pictures, and that's because the magazines are almost all left-wing magazines, and even the magazines that have a tendency to cover right-wing people, a lot of times they're scared of the people that I shoot pictures of. So, I'm trying to literally cast the people that I shoot pictures of in a good light, and that kind of rubs up against the editorial mainstream. So to the extent that Annie Leibovitz shoots for magazines, no, I'm not the Annie Leibovitz of the alt-right. To the extent that she shoots, she tries to idealize the people that she shoots pictures of and make them look, put them in the best possible light, literally and figuratively. Yeah, that's what I try to do.
Annie Leibovitz did that photo shoot with Amy Schumer where she was like naked. It was like her belly. I mean, we all have like little fat flaps when we sit like this, but she tried to really show them off. I didn't see that as her making her look flattering in any way.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I think that when you look at beauty, a lot of that stuff is math. And what I mean by that is that the things that we find to be ideal shapes, the shape of somebody's face, the shape of somebody's eyes, their waist, their breasts, their ass, whatever it is, all of that stuff has some kind of a mathematical reference. There's something called the golden mean, and there's a constant called phi. And in a weird way, the things that we are attracted to are mathematical. Now, I understand that there's also a psychological component to it, which is that you attach the math of the way something looks to the feeling of the way that you viscerally react to something. But human beings, I don't have to tell a woman what a hot guy looks like, because when a woman sees a hot guy, she has a feeling, right, that goes beyond a description, right? And likewise, men do the same thing. So when I see pictures like that, I think, oh, well, they're trying to counter-program, right? They're trying to say, because we are Condé Nast, we are Vogue, we are Vanity Fair, we are the authorities, we are the arbiters of what we think attractive or chic means, then we're going to show you something that goes against all of your natural instincts, and then we are going to tell you that is attractive. And it's kind of like modern art or racism, because the reality is that people have intrinsic feelings about things, and then when you tell them that their feelings aren't correct, then it puts them at a disadvantage, right? And in a way, it's kind of a psyop. So for example, I said racism. I believe all human beings are racist. I believe that tuna don't know they're tuna, right? But they all swim with tuna, and they don't have a mirror, right? A tuna doesn't know what a tuna looks like, but a tuna always swims with tuna.
Yeah.
And there was a Harvard study called Project Implicit, which you can take online. And it does a pretty good job of demonstrating to you, to anybody who takes it, and it doesn't matter what race you are, okay, that you have a preference for people who look like you do. Okay, so that's like a biological thing. So when I look at stuff like racism, or if I look at I'm answering your Amy Schumer question. When I look at that stuff, I think it's all kind of a psyop, because what it does is it makes feel if everybody really is intrinsically racist, okay, and then you highlight the fact that some people are racist and other people are not racist, but the people who are calling people racist know inside that they really are racist, okay, then it makes everybody into kind of it puts everybody in a compromised position mentally, right?
Yeah.
So what I like to do with my pictures is, and I didn't really realize I was doing this until I started taking pictures of people on the right and making them look good, is that it kind of is like pulling back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz. You know, it's revealing something about people that I didn't actually even understand before I started taking the pictures. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but
yeah,
I think women on the right are probably more traditional, meaning clothes that they wear tend to flatter them. They spend a lot of time and energy thinking about how to present themselves in the most flattering way possible.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that a lot of women on the left, especially like feminists, they do things to their hair, they do tattoos, they do piercings, they do all of these other things to kind of, in a way, to me, it's kind of like camouflage, or it's like a distraction, because maybe they don't feel like their native form is good enough for whatever reason. But I think that the women on the right that I've shot pictures of are more comfortable in their own skin. I mean, Lauren put herself into a position where there was no way for her to defend herself, and so she had to lean into it. I mean, I was talking to Lauren originally when she was going out on that boat, and they were intercepting the immigrants that were going from Libya to Italy or something, and then she got accused of trying to sink a ship, and she was out on a boat in the middle of the ocean when they were attacking her. So there was all of this stuff going on, and she didn't have any ability to defend herself or react. And then I think that she was kind of underground, like working on her movie while all of that stuff was going on. And there was all kinds of vicious stuff that was being said about her, and accusations that were being made. So by the time she got done with that whole situation, I think that she was probably so maligned that the only thing that she could do is defend herself. Having attention paid to you is not always a great thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a two-edged sword, right? Yeah. So I'm a older guy. I have done what I've done. I don't really have any regrets. And if the New York Times wants to malign me by associating my name with one of the most successful photographers in the history of photography, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take, if people want to call that negative, they can call it negative. I don't really care. I bet you Annie Leibovitz probably cares a lot more about being associated with Peter Duke than Peter Duke cares about being associated with Annie Leibovitz. So
I think that's an interesting thing about people on the right. They tend to be less obsessed with optics. You were a top fashion photographer for years, and you were in the same industry as her. The only difference now is that you're not associated with these big magazines because they're run by a bunch of people who have their noses up in there. And
well, it's not that they have their noses up in there; they have an agenda. And just to be clear, I was sort of a big deal in Los Angeles for probably 5 years in the 1980s because I shot a lot of advertising. So I was never really a big magazine photographer. I did shoot for big magazines at the tail end of my photography career before I went into technology. Photography is a tool. It's a psychological warfare tool that's used in order to move people into a certain psychological direction. And what I mean by that is that if you write a song, okay, if you're Kanye West or Paul McCartney and you write a song, people have to hear a certain amount of that song before they make some kind of a conscious decision that they like the song, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, if somebody's watching a video or a movie, they have to make a commitment. They have to make a certain amount of time in their life that they are paying attention to something in order to decide, hey, I like that. You know, I like that Game of Thrones thing, or I like that Breaking Bad thing, or I like that thing. It's only still images that have the ability to go straight into your subconscious and give you a feeling immediately. People will look at a picture when you're scrolling through Instagram, okay? You'll get to something and you'll stop, right? It makes you stop. That thing that makes you stop is the fact that whatever that image is that you're looking at, it connects with you on a subconscious level immediately, right? There is no waiting for the hook in the song. There is no deciding to the part of the movie where you start crying. It just hits you like that. So for that reason, still photographs, I still think are a really important medium. And things like Instagram are incredibly influential. But to answer your question, the people in the magazine, the people in New York, Paris, and London have an agenda. Right now, it was just announced a couple of days ago that Anna Wintour is the global creative director for all Condé Nast magazines. Whoa. So Condé Nast is all Vogue magazines, all GQ magazines, all Vanity Fair magazines, Self, Allure. They own dozens of magazines. And there is one person, Anna Wintour, who's in charge of deciding what is chic, what is in fashion, and what is not in fashion. So Anna Wintour sends Annie Leibovitz to go shoot pictures of Amy Schumer, okay, and that's the picture that Anna Wintour told Annie Leibovitz that she wanted, okay. I don't know what her agenda is. I can guess what her agenda is. I'm sure that there's editorials where people can make up their minds about what the agenda is, but there's a hierarchy in that editorial world. There's a reason why Melania Trump has not been on one magazine cover since Donald Trump got elected. And I'd be willing to bet my life that it's because Anna Wintour put the word out that she will not be on a magazine cover. And if you put her on a magazine cover, that's the end of your career. So
that's really sad. They've traded in like authentic beauty. I mean, they're the fashion industry.
It's not about beauty. It's about psychological warfare. The beginning, there was a woman, Cecily, I'm trying to remember her last name. She lives in Texas now, and she used to be a magazine editor. And she explained to me that, okay, so the cover of a magazine is designed to get you to pick it up. The reason that it's always a pretty girl, it's always looking straight into the camera, okay, is because the idea is that you walk by this row of magazines and you like it when people look at you that way, okay? And if it was a picture, if pictures of guys did a better job of getting people to pick the magazine up off the rack, it wouldn't be pretty girls. It would be pretty guys. But for whatever reason, men and women both will grab the magazine that has the cover. And then you open the cover, and then as you get into the magazine, the beginning of the magazine, I think the editorial at the beginning of the magazine is designed to make you feel give you FOMO. So all of the images of all of the perfect people, the editorial stuff, doing all of the beautiful things in the beautiful places that you haven't been that you want to go to, that's all about giving you FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And then the second third of the magazine is all about how you can fix yourself, right? It's all about, how do you pop this pimple? What's the best concealer that you can use for the dark shadows under your eyes? It's always about how do you fix yourself, right? And then the end of the magazine is usually like stuff that they want to sell you, okay? Stuff that they want you to buy, because what they've done is that they've given you FOMO, okay? And then they've made you feel bad about the way that you look, and then at the end, what they're doing is that they're giving you a bunch of things that you can go buy in order to take care of your FOMO and the fact that you don't look as good as you could look. Okay, so in a way, fashion magazines are basically a psychological warfare weapon and the net result, the end result of the magazine is that you go out and you buy that lipstick that is way more expensive than it should be, right? Because the difference in price between like a tube of Chanel lipstick and a tube of CVS lipstick is actually the plastic container that it comes in, right? So,
It's wild.
It is wild. It is wild. I mean, makeup, the margins in makeup are stupid. It's why Kylie Jenner is so fabulously successful. Okay, the lip kit.
Yeah.
Like, how genius is that, right? I mean, she became a billionaire off of her lip job, which is more power to her. Like I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah.
But the idea is that lipstick is probably like a 90% margin. That the reason that makeup companies can spend so much money on these big fashion shoots where they send people all over the world and they do all these crazy things and they pay these giant contracts is because the margins, the amount of money between what it costs to make lipstick and what they sell it for is so tremendous, okay, that it's basically all profit, right? So the way that you sell lipstick is by selling the idea. It's by selling the glamour. It's by selling the FOMO, right? It's by selling all of that stuff.
Trend.
Yeah, and if you can do that, then people will go spend, $40 on a 25-cent tube of lipstick.
What was your goal by going into political photography?
Okay, so I started off when I was a kid. I wanted to be a photographer. I was a computer science major in college because I was trying to make my parents happy. I dropped out of school to become a photographer, which made them really unhappy. And I did that until two things happened. One was at the end of the 1980s, most of my livelihood was based on working for these things called department stores. Okay, and there were hundreds of them all over the United States, and there was lots of work for people who were fashion photographers. The joke is that the photographers who were friends of mine in New York said that I didn't actually shoot fashion, I shot clothing, right? Which is pretty true. Guilty, all right. But I worked with all of the same people, because you still work with models and hairdressers and makeup artists, and you're still doing the same thing. It's just you're working for different clients. And then when the internet took off, like I said, I got a call from somebody at Fox who started asking me questions about building these things that had never been built before called websites. And because I had come from advertising and I knew how to talk to marketing people, and I had a background in computer science and I could talk to the engineers in a language that they understood, then I had the ability to kind of bridge these two worlds, and help them build the xfiles.com, build foxsports.com, build foxkids.com, all of these different things, because there was no such thing as a website before I started working at Fox. And as I kind of look back at my career in retrospect, it's all about using technology in order to change the behavior in human beings. So when I was a fashion photographer, I would use a camera and a model and lights and lipstick and clothes in order to sell a sweater, right? If I pushed the button at the right time and everything else came together, somebody bought that sweater, right?
Yeah.
And if I built a website, okay, for the X-Files, and I did a good job of it, at some point somebody would buy an X-Files book, or somebody would watch the show the next week because it was a marketing device. So in a way, fashion photography and technology were all the same to me, because it's all about using all of these different ingredients, these technical ingredients, right? And putting them together like you bake a cake. And if you do it correctly, then somebody will buy something. Somebody will have the behavior that you want them to have. You're making a video right now, right? Okay, if you do a good job, somebody will click like.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody will click subscribe.
Yep.
Right? And then you will get the feedback and the benefit, okay, of having made a good video, right?
Yep.
So in a weird way, all of these things in my mind are all connected, because we're using technology in order to get people to do stuff. So that's... People have wrong think?
Yeah.
Am I worried about it? I'm not worried about it, okay, because I don't take responsibility for what other people think or do or say. And I don't buy into because I talked to somebody else or I was in the same room with them means that I am them, okay? I've shot pictures of Milo Yiannopoulos, okay? I think Milo Yiannopoulos is a funny guy. I also think that he's incredibly damaged, and he also has he also has the ability to be really kind of mean, spiteful, and vindictive.
Yeah.
And does that mean that because I spent a few hours with him taking pictures of him, does that mean that I'm any of those things? No. Because I tried to make him look as good as I could possibly look, does that mean that I should have been more honest about trying to make him look mean, spiteful, and vindictive?
That's not your job.
Maybe, but that's not my job. It's not really what I was there for. And so the whole reason I started doing what I'm doing is because what I saw was that there were people, specifically it was Michelle Bachmann, who I've never shot pictures of, but because I was a fashion photographer, when I saw this beautiful woman who was saying things that I basically agreed with on television or wherever it is that I saw her, it was probably on TV, I thought, well, she's got the whole package, right? Because she's pretty, right? She's articulate, okay? And she's saying the right things. And then when I saw the Newsweek cover, I think the photographer's name was Chris Buck, who shot it, I looked at that photograph and I thought, this is a hit job. Okay, this photographer was sent out, and his job was to specifically take a picture of this beautiful woman who's got a bunch of kids, okay, and make her look terrible. And that's exactly what he did. And I think I was telling you earlier that a photograph that was delivered for that magazine cover was a photograph that would have never made it off of my computer. Or if I was shooting film, that picture would have gone straight into the trash can and the editor would have never seen it. Okay, the fact that you would send a photographer out and that they would shoot a photograph of somebody and then deliberately make them look as terrible as they could possibly make them look was anathema to me. It's not something that entered into my reality space. And so in a lot of ways, that was kind of a wake-up call for me, because it was like, oh, photography has been weaponized to the point where they will send somebody out they'll send a reporter out to do a hit job written, and they'll send a photographer out with a camera to do a hit job. A knife is a weapon, right? You can use it to make dinner, right? You can use it to eat food, or you can use it to kill somebody, right? And cameras are the same way.
Wow. Who's your favorite person that you've shot on your camera?
My favorite person. God, that's a hard question. My favorite person that I ever shot pictures of is a girl that I fell in love with in 1985 or 86. She was a model, and there was a movie with Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn called Funny Face, and it was this whimsical romance between this photographer and this model, and so I always felt like for the times that I was working with this model that I had this like whimsical romance going on, and it was all taking place on the set, right? It was all taking place in my studio. So we would dance around, and take pictures, and so probably that person. As far as who's the most interesting person on the right, Scott Adams was a super interesting guy to shoot pictures of. Scott wrote a book called God's Debris, and what's interesting is that it's a book about it's a what if book, and it's a kind of like a seminary school 101 book, where Scott was working with the premise that if God was almighty and all-knowing, what is the only thing that God could do in order to convince God that God was God? And the premise is that God would destroy God in order to see if God would reconstitute as God. So that's why it's called God's Debris. And I thought it was a brilliant book, and Scott has a main character in the book named the Avatar, and the Avatar wears a red flannel blanket. That's his costume. And so when I went to go shoot Scott, I was desperately stopping at Walmart's on the way over to his house because I was trying to find a red flannel blanket. I hadn't really planned it out too well, and when I got there, his dog had a red flannel blanket, so I put the red flannel blanket over his shoulders, and then I shot a picture of him like that. So that was a great picture. Yeah. Love him or hate him, I think the pictures I did of Baked Alaska are really good.
Yeah.
With his ice cream suit and his black pitchfork. Ali arranged for me to have a whole room where I could set up. I shot this great picture of Stefan Molyneux. I've never published it. I'll let you put it in your video.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I had a big studio set up there, and I was just kind of grabbing people, out of the hallway to shoot pictures of them on a big white seamless because, my favorite photographer of all time is this guy Richard Avedon, and he always used to shoot people on white seamless. And the thing is that about shooting people on a white seamless is it's just a picture of them, right? It's not about a background. It's not about perfect lighting. It's really about a relationship between the photographer and the person that you're shooting. And good photographers understand the psychology of what happens when they aim a camera at somebody, and then they try to figure out what it is that they can do in order to be able to elicit that reaction, that response. When I was shooting pictures of you the other day, okay, I had you hold your arms out, right?
Yeah.
Well, why did I do that? Because I needed to get you to stop thinking about you.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was the only thing I could think of. Okay? And your hands were right there, right? So as soon as your hands moved out, you stopped thinking about you. And as soon as you stopped thinking about you, then I got a good picture. Because the picture of Pardis, where she's not thinking about Pardis, is a much prettier picture than the picture of Pardis who's thinking about Pardis. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So one of the things that you do, and after I met Scott Adams and I started learning about hypnosis, I started to realize, the reason that my pictures look the way that they look, is because I'm a hypnotist. Only I didn't know it was called hypnosis. I thought it was just called photography, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I was just doing these little tricks, in order to get the photograph that I needed to get But what I'm really doing is I'm getting people to drop their guard. They're going into an alpha state. I'm eliciting a micro expression, and then I'm grabbing it. And I didn't know any of that stuff before I started studying hypnosis. But what I found out after I started studying hypnosis is that when I'm holding a camera in my hand, I've been doing hypnosis for 50 years now. So.
Nice. I also, would it be possible if I get some shots of you just looking at the water?
If it's
like
not dark yet, yeah, we better hurry.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. I just remembered that also.
All right, we better hurry. They don't see it. They're looking at me taking their picture and they don't see the moon behind me.
It's so funny.
Here's what's great about this place. What's great about this place is that it's so pretty that it's just really hard to take bad pictures.
Yeah.
You know? And so I met a National Geographic photographer once when I was young, and he said to me that that 99% of being a National Geographic photographer is just being there. You know, that if you can get to that place where they take the pictures just happen. And that's what I love about this, is that, you know, it's just such a beautiful place. The artist who made that, I can't remember his name, but he passed away a couple weeks after I got it. I looked at it and it immediately evoked feminism to me, because as a fashion photographer, I shot pictures of beautiful women all the time, you know, for a living, and it seemed to me that feminism was trying to take specifically beautiful blonde women and marginalize them. My daughter is pretty and she's blonde, and she was always called basic when she was in high school. They were always talking about how she was basic.
Yeah.
And, as some kind of a slight.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the basic thing.
Last time I was here, there was like a bunch of really cool art that I thought was really cool. You told me a little bit about.
I have Guy Fawkes on this side and Mr. Robot over there. Hey Google, turn off the reading lamp. There you go, and then you can see it.
Oh, cool.
My homage to censorship by the social media companies. So I sainted her. I had an artist put this together, and we created little shrines to her around Los Angeles, in front of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google. I was sitting on the back of the Washington Monument with my daughter about 5 or 6 years ago. It was one of those really terribly hot Washington D.C. days. We were on the back of the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, and it looks over the bridge that goes to Arlington, the back of the Lincoln Memorial. And I was thinking, when the revolution comes, it's going to come over that bridge because they have guns in Virginia, right?
That's so...
And then I thought, well, if people came running across that bridge holding AR-15s, they'd probably all get mowed down by the National Guard or whatever. So what they really need is they need something that looks like they mean business, but not something that will get them shot. And I thought, they need pitchforks. And at the moment that was happening, there was the whole assault rifle kind of like kerfuffle that was going on in the news. And I thought, if the pitchforks are black, they'll look more dangerous than if they're regular pitchforks. So I came home and I ordered a pitchfork, and I got a can of black spray paint, and I painted it black. And then I had some different pieces for rifles that I had worked on before. And so I put the quad rail on the pitchfork, and I put the scope and the laser on it. And I actually did a picture with that pitchfork with Baked Alaska.